Hey guys, just wanted to take a minute to thank you, the listener, for listening and proving that you have a growth mindset. Our mission is to curate information from top influencers around the world. We provide you with real, actionable steps on how to improve in every and any area of your life, whether you own your own business, you're a C-suite executive, or just starting your journey of self-development. Professional development is all about growth. And you know that if you're not growing, you're dying. If you enjoy this content, please help us by helping others and liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome to the Professional Development Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 27th, and we are in episode 24. And today we're going to be talking about balance and sacrifice, how they go hand in hand. And before we get into that, we're going to have two segments. One, Brad's going to hit us with just the tip of the week. And then our newest segment is we have an OnlyFans inquiry. So we had a couple of people write in, and I think it was through Instagram and text, and basically had a couple of questions surrounding self-development. So what we're going to do is each week we're going to pick one. We'll be announcing it every week through Instagram, and we're going to take one. We're going to answer to the best of our knowledge and what we know about other influencers, try to curate that info into something that can help people and our other OnlyFans. So before we get into it, guys, what's going on? What's new?
So have you guys been paying any sort of attention to the Reddit and the stock market the last couple of days?
GameStop, right?
Yeah. So I've been like all about it. I think it's absolutely insane. And now TD Ameritrade has shut down any trades through GameStop. You can't buy anymore.
What's up with the GameStop thing?
So basically there's a thread on Reddit called Wall Street Bets, and a lot of these big hedge funds had shorted the stock, basically saying like, okay, GameStop's going out of business, which they were going to. So this group of Reddit, which has like 2 million user or members on it, said, let's buy GameStop stock. So they did, and they ran it up from like $7 or $12 all the way up to $300 right now.
Yeah, so
they've literally put a hedge fund out of business.
So, and I don't know anything about the stock market. Like my financial advisor does all that, but I listened to a video to where it's like that made it jump significantly. And so the people that wanted to sell, in order to sell, you have to like buy more before you can sell. So that made it even skyrocket more, and then just complete chaos after that.
So when you short a stock, if it does not go down, you have to pay the difference. So the fact that it went up to like $300, they have to pay that difference by the stock.
Interesting.
And now they're doing the same thing.
But wouldn't that be insider trading for anybody involved in that?
It's
Reddit?
not insider trading because they just all got together and said we should buy the stock. There's nothing great about the company at all.
You don't think that's going to happen again?
Well, no,
it already has.
It's also no different than like what this other guy was doing, which he was at an actual like Wall Street guy. He was just predicting the downfall of it. So he was telling everybody to sell. These are people that are like, hey, we know everybody's going to sell. Let's just buy the fuck out of it.
So they're doing the same thing now with Nokia, BlackBerry, and even Elon Musk got in on the deal last night, wrote on Twitter, like, game stonk. Like, go get it. Yeah, and that made it go up, like, another 100% just by him tweeting that.
Oh, my God.
So,
that's
insane.
Crazy. Oh, now Blockbuster's up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't even
they
know
did
that.
it to Blockbuster.
Really? So it's crazy to follow. Like, I mean, there's people that have taken, like, $55,000, made $22 million.
Yeah, but what happens if, like you said, they stop this sale of the stock?
Well,
eventually.
Then you want to be the first one to fucking sell.
Yeah, eventually it's going to, you know.
You got to get
unless
off
this just revives GameStop to where it's just like they've,
they did AMC. They were going out of business, and basically yesterday they generated $917 million. Brought them out of bankruptcy.
If I was the CEO, I'd be like, sell.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Nice.
Sorry, guys.
That's cool.
No, that's cool.
That's good.
It's relevant.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, Dan?
Not shit. Learning all about email marketing cadences right now. So that's all I really been.
Fucking snooze fest over here. Jesus
I know.
Christ.
It's
so. What are you going to do? Like a MailChimp, Constant Contact, something like that, or
no? We have HubSpot, and so I hired.
Is it the same concept though?
It's yeah.
You can track who opens it, who hasn't opened it.
It's within our CRM.
Yeah,
okay.
But then so I'm learning about it, but I'm not actually doing it. I have a consultant that I've hired to come in, and then she's building out basically the tree of emails, right? So if we send an email and they open it but they don't respond, they get email
a follow-up
B.
email
But if they if they don't open it, then they get a different email, and if they open it and click a link, then they
You
know
send them
it-
an email saying, "Oh, hey, you forgot to."
yeah. So it's just all like retargeting, I guess, based on the receiver's actions and trying to generate leads, and it's cool. I like looking at the
No, yeah.
stats and whatnot. But
I used Mailchimp for a little bit of work, and a totally different industry. Mine was like showcasing a product, and every time I'd send one out, I'd make sales. But it got to the point like it's a lot of work for one person to take on.
yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
have somebody starting next week and a consultant just
There
to
you
do it.
Matt, what about you? Just out slaying in Mexico and.
I'm struggling to get struggling to get back to the grind. Mexico. I definitely had my vacation, had my fun, and now I'm trying to not eat fast food every night. Now that I'm back and don't have to work up to go into a beach.
Matt
And-
looks so confused today at work.
Oh,
He's like looking around in outer space. I had to stop him a couple times. Like, what are you thinking about, dude?
brain's still getting there.
Just
you
heard
know?
the ocean crashing.
Brain-
still.
yeah,
He's
yep.
like, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to get back to it. But yeah, I guess before we get into anything else, Brad, what do you got for just the tip?
So for just a tip, maybe I'm the notebook guy, but something I've been doing lately is I have the big yellow legal pads. And what I do is at the very top, I write the date. So I'll write, January 27th. And then everything that happens during that day, I write down like, okay, I talked to Greg, this is what he needs, and et cetera, down the list. And then at the end of the day, I type it in my computer and I save it as that day. So then I can go back and look and see if I have anything that I may have overlooked that I didn't get done on that day. Or it's just like, oh shit, who called me last week and I can't remember, and I have their phone number, what we talked about. So it's basically essentially like a way of note taking, but it keeps everything a little bit more in line for me. So that's my tip of the week. Grab yourself a legal pad, set the date, and everything that happens on that day, jot it down.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I believe it opens with this, and I haven't read it in a long time, but and I've told this story before, but the number one insurance producer, whenever that book was written in the whole world, basically, he would do the exact same thing where he would write down everything that happened throughout the week, and then he would use that as an audit on Sundays before the next week.
I think it's
what
a
can I
perfect
get better
way.
at?
I find myself, my desk is just an absolute tornado all the time. So that's my best way of consolidating everything down to one piece of paper or, one area. And then I can go back and look and audit myself, I guess you could say, is what he did. So same sort of process. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I had Matt clean my desk today. Or I tried.
Yeah. Is that?
I got a little there, and I was telling Dan,
he was
it's like,
thinking about it.
I had a bunch of people over when Dan was there for my birthday. I was like, it was like cleaning up after people at my birthday that looked like there was half beers everywhere and just a bunch of trash and shit. But in Dan's, it was just half and quarter filled LaCroix
That's it.
everywhere. Yeah.
Just couldn't monster.
Better
all
than
the way down.
Cokes.
Dan fucking loves LaCroix. The day
He
we
needs
went
the
and
miniature
worked,
bottles.
the day we worked out 2 weeks ago together, he was just smashing LaCroix in the middle of the work.
What's wrong with that?
Gotta get it in.
Hey, water's water, right?
Yeah.
Flavored bubbles, and we're not.
Yeah. All right, Brad. Thanks for that. That was just the tip of the week. Now, our first OnlyFans inquiry.
Yeah. So, guys, this week we had somebody reach out on our Instagram page. His name's Noah. So, thanks for reaching out, Noah. And his question is, what if you're a motivated individual like myself, but tired of working your ass off getting other people rich? I want to start my own business, but have no funds and no general idea for what my business would be. What advice would you give to an entrepreneur starting out? Great question. No,
Yeah.
you guys take it.
Yeah, great question, Noah.
Thanks, Noah.
Thanks. I'll dive in. So I think that, if you don't, did he mention he didn't have a bunch of money
Yeah.
to start? Okay, so that one's kind of easy for me, at least, is if you don't have money, you can provide a service for somebody, whether it's mowing their fucking grass or even driving Uber or whatever, and that'll get you started as a side hustle. And then just you got to save that income. I think a lot of people that don't have money, they try to start a business and then it doesn't work out. It's because they're not reinvesting that money. So you have to be saving some of that. And then as you build up that service, you can start adding customers. You can start adding maybe some ads on Facebook on the cheap, and you can kind of build up your business from there from a service perspective. And it just depends on the skill set that you have too. I think it's a lot easier. I'm trying to talk to my brother-in-law right now about the same thing where he has a skill set, which is fixing computers and printers, like IT, like he can show up and fix your fucking computer, right? And that's what he does at work. So he could provide that service. He has a special skill set that he can provide to somebody else. He just has to go out and do it as a side hustle first, and then build up the customer base.
Yeah, so I would say, to piggyback off one of the things Dan said, is build up a nest egg. So one of the things that I was told by everybody I've talked to who started their own businesses before they branched out, and most people should have this, but I know a lot of people don't because I didn't necessarily when I started thinking about this. It's a nest egg of 3 to 6 months of expenses, right? Because when you're starting out on your own business, sometimes you're not going to know when your next paycheck is. So it's good to have that buffer so you're not too confined.
Yeah.
And then 2, like Dan also said, is really going to depend on what you do, but most likely Noah has some type of job. So my big thing would be to read the 4-hour work week and figure out how you can negotiate a work from home schedule, or at least like a half work from home schedule. And there's emails to send, there's ways to negotiate it, there's ways to start out just like a few hours a week per week, right? And so what you can do, just like anybody with a 40-hour a week job, is you can probably figure out how to do that job just as efficiently in 20 hours a week, right? So read that book, figure out how to free up your time so that on the other side of that, for whatever your extra time is, or just at nights, you can start working towards that. So that would be my biggest thing.
Yeah, and then kind of looping back to what I said. So if he's in an office type position, yeah, definitely, you can open some windows there. But if you have that skill set, let's say he works in construction, because we don't actually know.
Yeah.
Then side hustle. And I think that there are a lot of construction guys that side hustle it, but then they don't save that money for their business.
No, they go spend it on whatever they want.
But you got to keep your job for now.
Yep.
And then put together that plan. And then another thing you can do that I thought of while Matt was talking is just the flip game. I mean, fuck, I still do it just for fun.
Gary V.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go to the thrift store. I just enjoy making money. Like, I enjoy the process of making money. So, I mean, right now, fucking baseball cards and Pokemon cards and shit like that, like, you can flip those all day long. You can go and sit outside of Targets or Walmarts, and if you can find baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards that are on the shelf for $20, you can leave and sell those for fucking $60 to $100 per box right now. That's how hard they are to find. You can do it with PS5s. You can do it with so much different shit, and it doesn't have to be high ticket items. And if you want to do the flip game, highly suggest following Gary V, just because he flips everything from fucking stuffed animals to
it doesn't matter, whatever,
$1 million fucking cards. So anyways,
I think that's a good start.
Yeah.
Start with that. Obviously, figure out something that you enjoy.
That was what I suggested. Find something you personally like to do to get started, and it'll obviously keep you a lot more motivated than if you're trying to do something that's not something of interest.
Yep. Cool. That was good. Keep asking questions, guys. We're happy to answer, and hopefully it helps out a little bit. Okay, let's get into the show. Today, we've got balance and sacrifice, right? And when you think of balance, a lot of people hear work-life balance, but it's a lot more than that. It's balance in health, finances, your relationships, your spirituality, emotional well-being. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But we probably know that you can only do so much in balance. And a lot of times, if you really want to excel and max out in a certain area of your life, you're going to have to make sacrifices. So that being said, balance and sacrifice, guys, what are your thoughts here? Let's start with balance.
So I'm going to start with my quote. The most important decision about your goals is not what you're willing to do to achieve them, but what you are willing to give up. And that's by Dave Ramsey. So I thought that one kind of like honestly just wraps it up in one little deal there. So I'm sure one of you guys probably have a damn great. I was worried somebody was going to have that quote today.
I don't. Actually, I was worried somebody was going to have my quote.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones on this
and they
one.
don't, because Matt didn't bring one.
Yeah, so we're good.
I've got one right fucking here.
Hold on, I'm going to say mine first. If you don't sacrifice for what you want will be the sacrifice. Yeah, damn, that one hurts.
Damn, dude, that's fucking... So mine, that I have known forever, is balance is not something you find, it's something that you create, which actually goes hand in hand with the sacrifice, right? Because in order to find that balance, sometimes you got to give up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I was really close to saying right there, but I didn't. I was proud of myself. So let's talk about it. Balance. Work-life balance, spiritual balance. Like, is there such thing as balance, or is there a way to create true balance? Or, is there a sacrifice for everything you decide to put effort into?
So I personally think that balance is kind of bullshit. I think that it doesn't exist. I think if you think it does, you don't realize what is actually hurting on the other side. I mean, you can sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to go spend some time with my family, or I'm going to work, an extra 2 hours, but something's giving up. There's never that perfect scenario where you can have everything be 100% all the time. It never will work out.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this too, and I actually wrote this out, and then I scratched out that it's a myth, because I guess if you really dive into it, you can find somebody with some balance in their lives, with their family and with their health and with their, anything that's important to them. But at the end of the day, if you did find somebody that was balanced in all areas of life, I don't think they would be good at one area. I don't think they would be super successful at one area. I think that they would be either average or below average in all of the areas, because you're trying to do, how many...
And I totally agree, because I feel like if you do have that balance, you're not pushing yourself to go forward.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I just think that, unfortunately, there's not enough time in the day to be balanced in every single area of your life. So
no, absolutely. Just going off kind of what you said, if you try to put max effort into every single bucket or effort into every single bucket, then you're not going to put enough time to really develop in any of those, because there's only so many hours in the day. You're going to experience burnout because you're so focused on attaining perfection in every single one of those areas that you're not even going to be happy, and it's not even going to be fucking worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and kind of to say like not being happy. So I don't really believe in balance, but what I will say is I am happier when I have those days where I've put daily efforts into multiple areas of my life, right? So that to me is winning the day, where I actually fucking worked out one day, plus I read 15 pages, plus I got my power list done at work, right? Like those are the days that I've won, but it's really hard to achieve those every single day where I'm putting efforts in other buckets of my life.
So I believe that and actually Ed Mylett said this, I believe the pursuit of balance is important, but it's not attainable for high achievers.
And I agree with that for sure. To focus on trying to be balanced is probably like one of the better things you could do for yourself, because that means you're focused on multiple things that you're trying to excel at.
Yeah.
But you can never excel at every single thing at a time.
And it's like the pursuit of perfection, right? There's no such thing as perfect, right? But it's okay to pursue perfection. Just know that you're not going to get there, because you're going to, at times you're going to be balling out at shit. And whatever area that is, that typically means some of the other parts aren't getting enough time, but that doesn't mean that in those times, whether it's like, your health isn't that as much a priority. It doesn't mean you have to put zero into it and it's just going to go to shit, right?
Yeah. And so like I look back, and everyone that I know that has made big sacrifices, or not big sacrifices, but for example, and Brad knows him, our quarterback in high school, for example, he didn't really party. He didn't really drink. He didn't have a girlfriend. He like skipped a lot of areas. He might be at a party, but he wasn't like getting fucked up like everybody, because he had one focus, and that was fucking football. And that's all he did. He would be up, he'd fucking work out everything revolved around one thing. And so he lost some of the other areas of balance in his life, or not balance, but he didn't put the time into those other areas that most high schoolers do put it in, but he ended up being a top 100 Rivals quarterback at the time, And so, yeah, he was really fucking good, but he sacrificed a lot of other social aspects that people enjoyed, during that time.
Sure. And here's another thing that it's balance to me. I don't even get it. Like, so actually, Brad, I thought there was such a thing as balance, and then you said no in our group text. And then the more I started like looking into it and researching it, I realized that it's like, well, what the fuck do you consider balance, right? Like, because everybody's got different area of their lives that are important to them.
Yeah.
So for some, like, some area might not be very important to someone, but at the end of the day, it's whether you're happy or not, right?
Exactly.
And you want to put your time and effort into specific buckets. Like, that's your prerogative, right? There's no, there's no set of, and I already said this, but there's no perfection of like reaching every pillar in every area or every level.
So I agree with that, but I also think that if you have goals in certain areas of your life, you're not gonna hit every fucking goal trying to be balanced, right? You have to pick the goal that means the most to you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, right? And so hopefully that makes sense in regards to what you were saying.
No, it does. And again, just because I listened to a really good podcast on Ed Mylett, it's like if it's your career, right? and your career is like your number one priority, maybe you won't get to spend enough time with your family. But what you can do is that when you're with your family, you're super, super present.
Yeah.
Like, and Dan, you're a really good example of this. Like, you're a super hard worker. Your career is taking priority right now. But I know that what you're doing with your kids and your family is you've got a date night for your wife and every single one of your kids. So it's like once you're there with the kids, you're there. You're spending that time to develop an individual relationship with them, even though you're working your ass off on the side.
Yeah, and and maybe we listen to the same Ed Mylett podcast. He had said this a long time ago, and this year I made it a priority where it was, you schedule time for meetings. We schedule time to do this podcast. You schedule, in the important areas of your life, you schedule time to fucking make them happen, right?
Yeah.
And so my family is very important to me, although unfortunately, just being an entrepreneur, and Brad, you grew up like this, with your story and your dad working his ass off, so that, now you get to hang out with him. But I wanted to make that a priority. So I just said, you know what, Monday nights are fucking date nights. And I'm going to bring every week I'll rotate the kids and we'll get one-on-one time. And then every Wednesday night, I take all 3 kids so my wife can actually have a fucking mental break. But that for me is the time I'm present with them. And then, the date nights with the wife, I can be present, but it's all on my, I hate saying it's on my calendar, but it's really helped just blocking out that time, knowing like if I had a fucking hockey game, right? I play roller hockey on fucking Sundays. If I had a hockey game, I know I'm going to be there during that time, and that time's kind of blocked off, right?
But it doesn't sound bad. Like actually, Ed says one of the tips is become a freak about time management. Like make sure like it's not just, hey, your career and then your family falls in somewhere in the gaps. It's like, no, it's an intentional time that you're setting to be like, hey, this is our fucking time and I'm going to be here with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's, I struggle. I mean, I've talked about it multiple times with dedicating more time to my wife and my family, and Dan gives me shit about it all the time.
No,
so I need to be more intentional about
shit.
that stuff. But I mean, my family has struggled a lot, but I look at it as, or sacrificed a lot of, to me, I'd rather put in this time now that 90% of the world doesn't want to do, to then in 10 years have the ability to do what 10% of the world can't do.
Yeah, and I had this kid, and similar to your story, I had a kid on my golf team in college that his dad got to go to every single tournament. He was at every dinner. Then whenever we traveled, he could stay the whole weekend. Like my parents might make one every once in a while because they had to fucking work and everything. But he worked his ass off when the guy on my golf team was a kid, and so he could go and enjoy different things. So, and Ed Mylett, we keep talking about Ed today, but
our buddy Ed.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Ed. Max out. Anyways, so whenever I was doing some research on this topic this week, he had a post even back in 2017, and it only had like 100 likes on it when he was like first getting started on social, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
But sacrifice now, so later, your family can and generations of your family can be fucking taken care of. So
yep.
It's one of those things.
And something, but going on those lines that I've spent some time thinking about is that does scare me is, what if I do work my ass off and I get hit by a fucking bus, or I get fucking
then your
cancer.
wife gets to enjoy it.
I know, but like, doesn't that suck that like, have you thought about in that situation before? Because that's the only part of me that does slow me down to kind of enjoy the moment at times, because you don't know. Tomorrow's never promised. That might be a little deep, but if that makes sense.
My wife's parents, or really her grandparents, they always said, hey, when we retire, we're going to go on all these trips, all these vacations, do all these things. So they saved up their money. And like a year after retirement, he died.
Yeah.
Or something. It was
didn't even get to enjoy it.
Anyways, so they didn't get to do all that stuff. So now my wife's parents, no matter what's going on in life, they always do like 1 or 2 little trips every year because you don't know.
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean,
again, it's good to make that time. But I mean, do you guys ever feel anxiety because like you want to hit on all cylinders on every, like you look at almost every pillar of your life, and you're just like, I need to be better here. I need to be better here. And it gives you so much anxiety that you're like, it's too much.
Yeah. I've lately been super struggling with needing to work out. Like we did 75 hard. I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning going to lift weights, and it was great. I felt good. I had a clear mind. I felt like I was killing it at work. And then after it stopped, I kind of realized that work was struggling during that time, and I didn't realize it. And me and you have talked about this, Dan, that, we're not the fittest dudes out of this group.
Yeah,
but
especially me.
I mean,
You got
I'm not
natural.
that far behind
You got natural.
I got the height. That's it.
Yeah, I know. I look like a bowling ball.
No, so I mean, I've been waking up lately later than I ever have, and I'm just dragging ass in the morning. I'm like, man, how was I able to wake up and work out and knock that out? And now it's like working out to me is like last priority. It's like
Right.
work, family, and then whatever else I have time for.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like you can, and I used to struggle with this a little bit, and I think I brought this up on the podcast as well. I don't know what episode, but it was kind of like, okay, I bought some remote control cars and I thought they were fucking cool. And then I went to the track with my son and I was like, I can beat all these fucking dudes,
These
and
hillbillies.
but it's like, no, they do this every week. This is something that they sacrifice.
This is their thing.
Yeah. And so like you can't just be good at everything.
No.
And so it was kind of like, well, maybe that's something that's not a priority for me, but I'd like to be good at it. Well, that's not a lifelong goal of mine to win fucking remote control.
RC champion.
You know what I mean? And same with cards. Like I float in and out of investing in sports cards or Pokemon cards or whatever. Like sometimes I'm really interested in it and active, and sometimes I'm not. So I know that that's not really a priority that I sacrifice time for. It's more of a mental break type thing. But my business has always been one thing, and making money as a result of it has been good, but that's always been the thing that, like, no matter what I'm putting my time into, pouring my time to, get consistent daily efforts, all that. And I have sacrificed, and I talked about this last week on the podcast where it was fucking, it sucks. Like I am not happy with, my weight and things like that, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make at this day and age of my life, so that I can spend that time with my business, with my family. And, I mean, my wife,
we're creating freedom right now. Like, we're sacrificing a lot of things, but in 10 years, we're going to have freedom that other people are still, trying to put money away that they can retire.
Yeah. And I think that, and it's really not hate towards these people. And I'm just going to be like super blunt. It's like, man, people in really good shape, they are putting in work, and that's awesome. And that's a very important aspect of their life. And so for somebody who has different goals than being a certain body fat percent, you know what I mean? Like, and
absolutely,
Matt's super fit, but that's important to him, where his fitness time is my family time. And so it's just different areas that we can put our time, but you can't put your time in all of them and be effective. If I worked out for 15 minutes a day, I guess the compound effect would slowly kick in, but it would never be so successful. It wouldn't be with the right intent, and it would never I would never be fucking Bruce Lee.
And I also think, I mean, not to hate on people that work out, like, more power to them, but
there's probably a lot of people that work out.
That listen to us.
And we don't mean it like that. No. It's just like, that's important to you guys, where we have different things that are important. And
it's a sacrifice across the board. But what I was getting to, and this applies in every aspect, no matter how you look at it, is if you're able to dedicate that 2 hours a day to that, well, that's 2 extra hours that we're dedicating to build a business. So I mean, and that's the same thing. I'm saying that I'm not dedicating 2 hours to my family either. So I'm dedicating it to strictly my business. That I'm sacrificing both my physical workouts, my time with my family, to work an extra 4 hours a day.
Right. And there's no right or wrong on where you spend your time. We're not here to fucking say, you need to be spending time making money, or you need to be spending time with your family, or you need to be spending time working out, or whatever it is. That you just got to do what makes you happy, like we already mentioned, and put all your energy into that. What is it that you think about before you fall asleep at night? And what is it that you think about when you wake up in the morning? What's important in those moments. That's what you should be focusing your time on.
Yeah, I do think, though, like at no point in time because again, the main buckets, right? When we're talking about your career, your health, your finances, your family, your spirituality, any friendships, right? There's not going to be all the time in the world, but you shouldn't be 100% neglecting any of those, because I think those are pretty much necessities to live. But I think the biggest takeaway, like I said, be present, right? Whenever you're in those, like with friends, or, if you just get to spend a couple of hours of time with your family, like whatever it is. An example, I was doing my morning routine and I was doing journaling, meditation, affirmations, vision board. Well, I woke up today just feeling so fucking far behind because of Mexico and just not really doing much at all there that, I was getting so distracted. Like I'd do one thing, I'd look at my phone, I'd see a text message, and then I'd pop that text message up. And it was stupid. It wasn't even about anything important, but I would feel the need to do that. And then I would just get caught up in email or whatever it was and keep having to come back. And by the end of it, I didn't feel good. Like I felt shitty, right? So it was just a waste of time. So it's like as much as tough as it is, like make sure you're present in what it is that you're doing. And the last thing I have of Ed is he says the balance thing for a lot of people is about control, right? Like you want to feel like you're in control. So he gave a tip that we gave like probably a couple of months ago when we were in the whatever that studio off Broadway was, which was 30 minutes before bed and 30 minutes when you wake up. It's like do something you're in control of, right? Don't reach for the phone. Don't go look at the notifications. Don't go to something that's gonna take like your emotions out of your control. Do some type of morning routine, and it's easier said than done a lot of times. But it's like you start your day off with control. You start to feel more control, and therefore you can kind of direct your day, and you get better balance.
And I think my biggest takeaway for balance and sacrifice that I would suggest for people is if you have a goal, like focus on that goal, like Matt's saying, be present with it. And you have to realize that if you want to get close to that goal or achieve it, that something's going to have to sacrifice. And don't feel like you need to, I mean, as shitty as it is, don't feel like you need to spend 100% of your time in every situation as far as family goes or working out goes. Like you need to realize that one of those is going to sacrifice during that time period until you can reach the goal, and don't be upset about it. Hit your goal and then make a new one. And that can be something health related, something with your family, and go from there.
Yeah. And I'm kind of at that point where it's like I had a goal of bringing on a manager, and that's freed up some of my time with my business. And so now I've actually been able to spend a little bit more time with my family all of a sudden that I haven't had in the last 5 years since I started my business. And it's different to me, to where it's kind of like, wow, I'm like home every night.
It's almost weird.
Yeah. It really is. And that's just been in the last like 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a cool topic that we have this week. And, but at the same time now that I have that in place, it's like, okay, well, I know the long-term goal for me. I know what that is. And so this extra time I'm going to start dedicating in different areas. It's just, I wasn't used to having the time. And so now it's a refocus. I'm in the process of refocusing my energy, my time, my presence, I guess you could say, or my intent with where I'm going to aim that focus and the discipline. So,
yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to end it. Yeah,
I'm cool.
Anything you guys got before we go?
No, I don't have anything. Thanks for reaching out this week, guys. We had a lot of questions come in. So we picked Noah's this week, but make sure to get yours in.
Yeah, so we'll make a post on Instagram that's going to talk about the OnlyFans inquiry of the week. Feel free to reply to that, send us a DM. You could shoot us a text message as well, or email, and then we'll be sure to pick one, and we should be able to do this going forward. We appreciate you guys listening in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
Deuces.